Yeah, hi there. These comments are for Roland. This is Michael from the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL iBT. And thank you for your email. So you're talking about the new TOEFL iBT speaking format. And let's take a look at your question bit by bit. You say, I got an important question to ask you regarding the new TOEFL iBT speaking format. A friend of mine took the test last week. I would say here, Roland, friend of mine, not my. So you said a friend of mine took the test last week and he was daunted to find that they got a new format for speaking question 1 and 2. Now, this is what worries me sometimes about students. They're so concerned about the type of question that they're going to be asked on the TOEFL. They're really forgetting the main purpose here. You're trying to demonstrate you're a free thinker. You can be creative. You can imagine. Whatever the question is, it doesn't matter what they ask you. If you have good English skills, if you're creative, and if you're a free thinker, you can make adjustments, you can answer the question, you can give details, and you won't be worried. So relax a little bit. But let's take a look at your example here. You say, for example, he was asked a question as follows. Schools allow students to watch TV on campus, discuss the advantages and disadvantages of having TV on campus. So it's easy. Well, it's not easy. I'll admit to you, it's a tough question to answer in 45 seconds, right? But the main thing is just focus, relax, and whatever the question that you're being asked, you want to make sure that you answer it. You directly address it. Here, from what you're telling me here, Roland, from what your friend saw on the test, it's not really asking you what your personal opinion is, per se. It's asking you to discuss advantages and disadvantages of this idea, right? Okay, so you said, I understand I'm asking something that may be out of your teaching materials. However, I'm kind of in a dilemma whether I've answered the question rightly or not. So I'm going to solve your dilemma right now. By the way, I like your vocabulary. As I always tell you, whenever you're doing speaking tasks, you have excellent command over the English language. This is not outside of my teaching materials. If you look at my 7-step system, Roland, you'll notice over the last couple of months, I asked students at my website, I told them, I said, I want you guys to send me exactly some of the speaking questions that you've been asked on the TOEFL test. And they did it. And you'll notice in my speaking section, Roland, when you go to step 7, there's about 20 questions that are exactly the kinds of questions that you're asking me here. And you can practice answering all of those questions at my VoxyPop discussion group, right? Okay, so let's take a look at the strategies here. So, so what I want to do right now is to give you an idea of how you might organize your response for this kind of question. So first of all, make sure you understand the question, and your topic statement might be something like this. You might say, allowing students to watch TV on campus can distract students from their studies, but it can also foster learning. So you'll notice here, Roland, I use one key point, distract students, and this idea relates to a disadvantage. And then the other one is called foster learning, and this relates to the idea of what's called advantage, right? So I think you want to be specific in the topic statement, though, so it makes it easier for you to develop the ideas in the 45 seconds. So then in terms of your outline, your disadvantage, you might write down distract students. Advantage, you put foster learning. Now, based on that, I'm going to show you a sample response. You can read it. You can time me. It takes me approximately 45 seconds to answer this question. You'll notice I try to keep my details limited to maybe 1, or you will not be able to answer this question in the time that you have. Okay, so let's start with the beginning here. So with the first part, it says here, allowing students to watch TV on campus can distract students from their studies, but it can also foster learning. First, watching television on campus could distract students from their studies. For instance, if students watch television during recess and lunch, They may watch TV instead of reviewing their notes for their upcoming social studies exam. Second, watching TV on campus could be used to foster learning. For example, after a social studies teacher has finished a unit on the life of Abraham Lincoln, he may allow students to watch a TV documentary about his life, which will help reinforce what was taught during the unit, thus fostering learning. Finally, schools ultimately will need to decide for themselves about whether or not students will be allowed to watch TV on campus. And that's pretty much it. So if you take a look at it, Roland, first of all, I have my topic statement here. The first point, distract, relates to a disadvantage. The second point, foster learning, relates to an advantage, right? And then in each body paragraph, I kind of restate the question. Watching television could distract students. I just give one example. That's all the time I have. Trust me, that's it. So I give one example to show how it distracts students. And then in the next one, I get to the advantage. You'll see here, watching TV could be used to foster learning. And in this case, again, I just give one example to help illustrate that idea. And then at the very end, Roland, I don't really choose which one is better based on your question. You weren't asking me that. You just said, I just finally end with, schools ultimately will need to decide for themselves about whether or not students will be allowed to watch TV on campus. And that's pretty much it. So the main thing here, Roland, is if you read a lot, like newspapers, magazines, if you watch TV, you watch the news, you're aware of things culturally. If you speak to native speakers on a regular basis, I don't think it really matters what question they're going to ask you during the independent speaking task. You're going to be ready. You'll do fine. You'll do really well. I know you personally. Your struggle right now, I don't think is this. Your struggle is trying to improve your delivery and your intelligibility a little bit. Most of the time, Roland, whenever I see or listen to your speaking task at my VoxyPop group, as one of my 7-step students, I see you doing a really good job in terms of organizing, developing, and explaining your ideas as it relate to whatever the question is. So the main thing here is, I think that you can get from the video here, is don't worry as much about what type of question they're going to be asked. Just make sure whatever that question is, that you organize your response so that you directly address that task. If you have a lot of experience with English, you will be ready. I promise you, you will definitely be ready.